Discover the incredible story of a father who bound his daughters in the desert at 30, a touching tale of love and resilience. Jack stood in the blistering Arizona sun, sweat dripping down his forehead as he wiped his hands on his oil-stained overalls. The garage where he worked smelled like gasoline and metal, a stark contrast to the wild, expansive desert that surrounded him. At 30, he was a single father, carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders, especially when it came to his two daughters, Lily and Grace. He loved them more than anything but man. Keeping them fed and safe with his meager earnings was an uphill battle, each day pushing through the grind, hoping for a better life. It was hard to balance work and fatherhood. The rhythm of his life felt like a relentless treadmill: wake up, work, come home, repeat. Each evening, he'd sit with Lily and Grace, their laughter lighting up the dim apartment, merging into warm memories but also a reminder of what he couldn't give them. As a dad, he strived to embody the all-American dream of providing, yet felt bound by the shackles of his own past. And then, it hit him: a call from the hospital informed him that his estranged father was on his deathbed. Jack's heart clenched. His father, a Vietnam veteran, was a distant figure painted with the bitter strokes of resentment and hurt in Jack's memory. From being a ghost in his childhood to a looming specter now, Jack wrestled with emotions that bubbled beneath the surface. Should he go, seeking closure, or should he put all his focus on the bright futures of Lily and Grace? Torn, he felt the tug-of-war of loyalty and yearning. In a moment of inspiration, Jack decided to take Lily and Grace on an adventure into the desert, hoping to stitch the fabric of their relationship tighter. The very thought of the vast, open sky, the crashing silence of the rolling dunes, it all seemed perfect. A healing journey awaited. But as they piled into their old car, it was clear the desert's beauty would not come without its fair share of chaos. Things went wrong faster than he could have imagined. The car sputtered and choked, breaking down miles from anywhere. A storm rolled in unexpectedly, whipping sand into their faces as they stumbled across lost bags and forgotten supplies. Laughter turned to frustration, and the comedy of errors cramped the moments they hoped would forge connections. Jack could feel an unspoken tension rise with each mishap, like the desert heat sizzling around them. Under the fury of the storm, Lily picked a fight, filled with rage for her father's absence in her life. Grace followed suit, her young heart breaking under the massive weight of her family's struggles. Jack wrestled with his own pain of disappointment. How could he help them while wrestling with his past? Amid the uproar, the desert whispered its loud secrets. A whirlwind of emotions swirled as he finally stepped up to confront the ghosts that had haunted him. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As they huddled together under the star-studded sky, Jack had one last chance to confess the shadows of his life, to share the burdens he had carried. Words spilled out of him like a river, revealing truths held back too long. His daughters listened, discovering the strength in their father's vulnerability. In that raw exchange, the bonds between them grew. They began to see the love that lay hidden beneath their worries and fears, but just as they rebuilt their connection on that sacred spot of earth, his phone rang. Tears streamed down Jack's face at the news. While the weight of his father's fading existence loomed. Should he run back to a past riddled with regret, or should he stay present with the daughters who needed him now? It felt like a cliffhanger of emotions left hanging, a choice that could alter everything. The desert wind howled around them, leaving Jack and his daughters standing on the precipice of a life-altering decision, a moment that would define their paths moving forward. Only time would tell where they'd land. The night wrapped around them like a heavy blanket, yet the cool desert air held a sense of urgency. Jack stared at his phone, barely registering the words spoken on the other end. His father was slipping away, but looking at Lily and Grace, he felt a pull deeper than any obligation to the past. They were here. Right now. What is it, Dad? Lily's voice cut through his thoughts, a mix of concern and confusion in her tone. Jack took a deep breath, a weight settling on his chest. It's my dad," he finally managed to say, his voice faltering. He caught Grace's wide eyes, searching for understanding. She didn't have the context of their family's complicated history, but innocence lingered in her gaze. "Your dad?" Grace asked softly, her small hands fiddling with the hem of her shirt. "Is he okay?" Jack felt the silence swell. "He's not doing well. They say he might not have much time left." Each word fell heavy, resonating in the space between them like an unanswered question. Lily shifted uncomfortably. "You should go," she blurted out, surprising them all. "You should go see him." "No," Jack shook his head, instinctively protective. "I can't just leave you two out here." "That's not true." Lily's voice cracked, her frustration lining each syllable. "You always think you're going to mess everything up. But who cares about him? He wasn't there for you, and he's not here for us." Every word stung. Jack pressed his lips together, fighting the urge to respond with anger. Instead, he could feel the cracks forming, not just in their fragile facades but in his resolve. Grace, sensing the rising tension, looked up at Jack with concern. "Daddy, can we just keep talking? You said those stories would help us heal." A glimmer of hope sparked in her voice, like a candle battling a windstorm. Jack rubbed his hands over his face. Healing felt foreign when shadows from the past loomed so near. Yet somehow, standing here with his girls, the memories didn't feel insurmountable. "I did say that," Jack sheepishly replied, as some warmth filled the cool night air. "Talk to us, Daddy," Grace said, her voice towering over the swirling chaos of emotions. After a long pause, he spoke. "Before I met you two, I had a life that was different. I was angry and confused. My dad, he was in and out. He fought in Vietnam, and it changed him. It ripped him apart, and in turn, it did the same to me." Lily nodded slowly, her anger giving way to understanding. This wasn't a blame game. It was a revelation. Jack continued, feeling unburdened. "I did things I'm not proud of. I lost a lot of time and thought maybe I could find a way to change it all, but sometimes you can't fix what's broken for so long." Bits of silence hung in the air. Jack's heart raced, diving headfirst into the depths of his feelings. Here was his chance not just to share a painful history but to build a future with them. "Do you feel like you're broken?" Lily asked, her voice small yet steady, searching for assurance that their lives could be whole, too. "We all have pieces missing," Jack said softly. "It's not about being perfect. It's about what we do with what we have." Grace's bright blue eyes sparkled with realization. "Then we can make something new." Jack felt tears prick the back of his eyes again. In Grace's innocence, she had summoned hope from despair. Just then, Jack's phone buzzed again, interrupting the warmth of their moment. It was another call from the hospital. Fear trickled into his mind. Did that mean he had to confront the past? As he glanced at the phone, uncertain between two worlds, he could feel the weight in his heart grow heavier. Would he turn back, or take a leap of faith into the uncharted sands of their shared future? The desert wind howled louder, embracing them like an echo of the decision looming ahead. Jack hesitated, torn. What would he choose, his past or the unpredictable horizon with his daughters? And what awaited them if he chose to make everything whole again? The phone buzzed again, this time vibrating against his palm, demanding attention. The screen lit up with the hospital's name, a stark reminder of the life he had momentarily escaped. Jack had to make a choice. He could hear the faint echoes of his father's laughter from his childhood, tainted now with regret and sorrow. But more vividly, he felt the warmth radiating from Lily and Grace, anchoring him to this moment, to the hope they could still craft together. "Jack." Lily's voice pulled him back. "You need to decide. What are you going to do? Taking a shallow breath, Jack felt the pain of his father's absence and the weight of his daughter's expectations. I have to answer, he finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. The words felt like a goodbye to the fragile moment they had created. Daddy, please don't go. Grace's plea pierced through the rising tide of his emotions. She reached out, her little hand gripping his tightly. We need you here. Right now. He turned to Grace, her face a mixture of fear and determination. I know, sweetheart, he said, trying to summon a calming smile. I'll just take a quick call. I promise. But internally he battled whether a promise could ease her worry. He pressed the phone to his ear, the familiar voice of the hospital's administrative assistant flooding in. Mr. Reynolds. I'm just following up regarding your father's situation. He's not doing well. You may want to come to the hospital tonight. Jack's heart sank, panic flaring within him. Every beat felt like a countdown ticking closer to losing a connection he had fought so hard to keep buried. Yet, as he glanced at Lily and Grace, the idea of abandoning the connection they were building pushed back the gnawing fear. I'll be there, he finally decided, resolve hardening his voice. He hung up and turned to his daughters, their expressions searching his face. Jack took a deep breath. Girls, we need to do this together. What do you mean? Lily asked, her brows furrowed with uncertainty. I mean, Jack softened his tone, kneeling to their height. We're a team. If I go, you both come with me. I don't want to leave anyone behind again. What if we're scared? Grace whispered, her voice barely audible. Jack pulled them close, wrapping his arms around their tiny shoulders. Being scared is okay. But together, we can face anything. I need you just as much as you need me. The desert wind curled around them, inviting and cold, urging them into the unknown. As they stood together, an overwhelming sensation of empowerment filled the air. Jack felt his chest rise, strengthened by their connection. Then we'll go, Dad, Lily said, her voice steadier now. But we promised to talk to him. Like you did with us. Jack nodded, a single tear slipping down his cheek. Yes. We'll talk. We'll hear his story, too, and maybe healing can happen. With hands intertwined, they trudged through the soft sand towards the car, the moon illuminating their path like an old friend. When they reached the vehicle, Jack's heart raced with anticipation. Would facing his father genuinely lead to reconciliation? Or would he stand before a stranger, a man he had long buried in the shadows of his heart? As they climbed into the car, Jack took one last glance at the vast desert, silhouetted against the starry sky. The journey into the unknown lay ahead, both terrifying and thrilling. He understood now how deep the roots of fear and hope intertwined. Are we ready? He asked, looking at the two most important girls in his life. Lily nodded firmly. Together. Grace squeezed his hand, her small smile radiating warmth. Jack turned the ignition and felt the engine roar to life, reflecting the change happening within them, but as they drove away, the question lingered in his mind. Was he ready to unearth his past, and what truths would it reveal if he did? The road stretched ahead of them, winding through the night, each turn hiding a promise or a new challenge awaiting discovery. The hum of the engine filled the air, a gentle backdrop to Jack's swirling thoughts. He stole glances at Lily and Grace as they sank into their quiet contemplation, their little hands still entwined. The rhythm of the tires against the asphalt became a soothing pulse, almost drowning out the anticipation pounding in his chest. Dad? Lily spoke up, breaking the silence. What do you think will happen when we see Grandpa? Jack took a moment to respond, weighing his words. I think we'll finally understand him, he said slowly. And maybe we'll be able to help him too. Grace shifted in her seat. Help him how? He is sick, right? Yes, sweetie. But sometimes, when we're sick, we need more than just medicine. We need people. A flicker of curiosity lit up Grace's eyes. Like you need us? Exactly, Jack replied, his heart swelling. And he needs to know he's not alone. No one should feel lonely, not even someone who has made mistakes. The moonlight spilled into the car, illuminating her face as she pondered this new information. But what if he's still mean? Grace's expression turned serious, a shadow crossing her small features. Jack sighed, recalling the years of tension and bitter memories that hovered around his father like a ghost. People can change, honey. They can surprise us. Sometimes, when we're hurting, we forget how to be good to each other. Like you did with us. Lily added, a hint of understanding in her voice. Yes, Jack said, his chest tightening with a mix of pride and regret. Like a lot of things we've worked through together. The comforting hum of their conversation flickered during the drive, each mile closing the distance between who they were and what they were about to face. Jack's hands gripped the steering wheel tighter, knuckles white against the dark leather. What awaited him at the hospital? Would he find a father he could still connect with, or a broken man, too far gone to reach? Before he could spiral further, he spotted the bright lights of the hospital in the distance, glowing with an almost ethereal light. We're almost there, girls, he announced, striving for an upbeat tone to mask his anxiety. Lily leaned forward, her face glowing with determination. We can do this, Dad. Yeah, echoed Grace, her voice small but fierce. We're not scared. Well, maybe a little, but together. Jack smiled, warmed by their courage. He realized that whatever lay ahead, they were bound by more than blood. They were sharing a journey, one that could mend and heal. As they parked, a weight settled over him. It wasn't just the hospital visit looming ahead, it was the potential confrontation with his father, a man he hardly recognized anymore. He inhaled sharply, trying to shake off the feeling of dread clawing at him. We're going to do this, he said, trying to sound confident. But remember, no matter what happens in there, we're always a team, okay? Okay. Came the chorus from the back seat, a burst of energy that reminded him of their shared strength. As they stepped out into the cool night air, a wave of uncertainty washed over him. The quiet of the night felt almost deafening, amplifying the thud of their footsteps. Each step toward the entrance was laden with unspoken words and unrealized fears. Together, they walked through the hospital doors, the buzzing fluorescent lights and the antiseptic smell hitting them like a wall. Jack paused, the weight of his family at his side anchoring him as he faced the unknown. Are you ready? He whispered, glancing at his daughters. The resolve in their eyes was infectious. Together, they both affirmed, holding his hands tighter. At that moment, Jack understood that no matter how dark the past could be, they had the chance to illuminate it with their light. He took a deep breath and pushed forward, each step matching the fierce beat of his heart, but as they approached the room, a sudden thought struck him. Would his father even want to see him or hear what he had to say? And what would happen if their meeting didn't go as planned? Would this journey bind them together or push them further apart? Standing in front of the door, the air thick with anticipation, Jack felt both hope and uncertainty clash within him. Whatever awaited them on the other side would change everything. What if this is a mistake? He wondered aloud, but before he could doubt further, he pushed open the door, ready to step into a world that held more than just answers but the possibility for redemption. The door creaked open, and Jack stepped inside, his heart racing. The room was dim, filled with the sterile scent of antiseptic and the rhythmic beeping of machines. He could see his father, frail and small against the white sheets, a shell of the man he once knew. Dad? Jack's voice cracked as he spoke, heavily laced with memories and tears he hadn't yet shed. There was a moment of silence, followed by a slow turn of the old man's head. His eyes, sunken and weary, met Jack's gaze. For a heartbeat, it felt like they were suspended in time, that the weight of all the years both good and bad hung in the air between them. Is that you? His father rasped, the words barely escaping his lips. Yeah, it's me. I brought Lily and Grace. Jack stepped aside, revealing his daughters. Lily's face lit up with hopeful optimism and Grace fidgeted nervously, clutching Jack's hand tighter. Hello, Grandpa," Lily chirped, her voice a bright ray of sunshine in the gloomy room. "Hi, sweet pea," his father responded softly, a hint of warmth breaking through the coldness Jack had grown accustomed to. But the smile faded quickly, a shadow creeping back into the old man's eyes. "What are you doing here?" Jack swallowed hard, the lump in his throat growing. We just wanted to see you. To check in. You've been," he hesitated, unsure of how to frame the words that danced on the tip of his tongue. "We've been worried." His father's gaze drifted away, staring at the muted wall. "Least I can do is stay out of your life, I suppose," he muttered, bitterness bubbling from years of regret. "No, no." That's not it," Jack quickly interjected, feeling a surge of anger mixed with the sadness knotting in his stomach. "We want to be a part of your life again. This is about understanding, about healing. You don't have to face this alone." Grace, brave as ever, spoke up, her small voice breaking through the tension. "Grandpa, we love you. We want to help." For a moment, the old man looked taken aback by the simple honesty that poured from his granddaughter. He blinked, as if awakening from a long slumber. Slowly, a flicker of vulnerability appeared on his face, battling with years of defensive armor. "Help me?" He scoffed under his breath, a wall still firmly constructed around him. "I don't deserve that. I've been a mess." Jack's chest tightened, feeling the pull of generational hurt. "But nobody is perfect, Dad. Not me, not you. We've all made mistakes. The important thing is we don't have to let them define us. Please, let us start over. It's not too late." The air thickened with silence. Jack glanced at his daughters, hoping to show his own determination through them. Lily leaned in, her eyes shining with innocence and belief. "Can we start by playing a game? I bet you used to love games," she suggested, her enthusiasm almost effervescent. "We can teach you the ones we play. It'll be fun." Jack watched as a smile began to crack the stoic facade of his father. It was brief, yet for the first time, the shadow lifted just a bit. The old man shifted under the weight of the moment, epiphanies swirling around like dust in a sunbeam. I don't know if I can, but maybe," he stammered, the vulnerability slipping into his voice as he tried to process what the girls were offering. Jack felt hope ignite within him, a tiny flame amidst the dark. "It was enough. That's all we need, Dad. Just a maybe to start." But the uncertainty still hung in the air like unbreakable glass. The battle inside Jack flared up again, various what-if scenarios clashing together. What if this moment faded, leaving behind only the bitterness? Just as that thought began spiraling, Grace leaned forward, her small hand gently resting on her grandfather's arm. "We can do this together, Grandpa," she urged. Suddenly, he looked at her with something akin to longing, a spark of life rekindling in his weary eyes. This could be the beginning of something new, a chance to rewrite their story. As Jack watched his father consider the possibility, a new question loomed large in his mind. Would this fragile moment lead to healing, or would it crumble like the past that had once defined their relationship? He felt both apprehensive and excited, standing at the edge of transformation. "Together, it begins now," he thought reassuringly, unsure of what now held in store for them but knowing they had taken the first step. But before he could celebrate, another thought crossed his mind. What if his father wasn't ready to fight for change? What if the shadows of the past swallowed this second chance whole? The tension thickened, and as Jack fought to remain hopeful, he couldn't shake the feeling that everything was still hanging by a thread. And in that moment, he realized that they had only begun to peel back the layers. Each decision now would dictate the outcome of their futures. The room held its breath, suspended in a delicate balance between past and future. Jack's heart raced as he watched his father's eyes flicker, the way a flame might dance against the wind. They were all still, waiting for that first spark to ignite something more. Do you remember when we used to play checkers?" His father's voice was tremulous, filled with nostalgia that battled against years of hurt. "The way you'd always cheat. Lily giggled, a burst of laughter that seemed to pierce the heaviness around them. Grandpa. That's not true. Remember the time I beat you fair and square? For that one moment, the old man smiled, a smile that felt foreign yet familiar. A remnant of joy that had been locked away for too long. Maybe I was just tired of losing to a 6-year-old, he replied, a smirk breaking through the cracks of his hardened expression. Jack felt the warmth of hope radiate in his chest. He knew this moment was fragile, but it was undeniably progress. A small shift in the tides. He stepped closer, heart pounding at the possibility of reaching his father. We can play. If you'd like. It could be fun. Just like old times. His father's gaze darkened slightly, revealing a shadow of apprehension. I don't know, Jack. What if I'm not up for it? What if I embarrass myself? Jack's stomach twisted at the words spoken aloud. His father's struggle was etched into every syllable, a painful reminder of fears far too real. But we'll all be right here, Dad. Ready to laugh, to help if you need it. You're not alone in this. Grace shuffled her feet, her small eyes darting between the two, sensing the vulnerability in the air. We want to make new memories, she added softly, her voice full of determination. Ones that are happy. His father seemed to weigh their words, the soft tremors of uncertainty dancing in his expression. Jack took a slow breath, knowing the stakes. Everything hung in the balance, the past hurt and the hope for something better. What if it doesn't go well? His father's voice trembled, the weight of vulnerability cutting through Jack like a knife. What if I don't deserve this? You girls need a grandpa who can actually be there for you. Jack stepped back for a moment, letting the silence settle. He felt bittersweet anger boil within him. Maybe it's not about deserving, Dad. Maybe it's about trying. And being open to what might come next, no matter how scary it is. The old man's face flickered again, the clash between yearning and fear tightening the features etched into his skin. Jack felt compassion rise within him as he pondered how haunted his father must feel, burdened by all those choices, all those years away from his family. But hope also pushed against the doubt that threatened to smother it. What if, Jack whispered, igniting a tiny flicker of inspiration, we play checkers not to win, but just to be together. Just to start something new. The tension cracked slightly, just enough for light to seep in. At that moment, Jack recognized the power of their words. They weren't just games. They were bridges being built. The silence lingered, stretching between them, and as Jack exchanged glances with his daughters, a renewed strength pulsed through him. Wasn't that the essence of family? To gather, to heal, and to cherish the little moments that could rewrite their story. Okay, let us try, his father finally said, squaring his shoulders ever so slightly. Jack's heart surged as he set up the board, but another thought snaked into his mind. Would his father's willingness to try hold even after the game ends? Or was this just a temporary distraction from the past, a fleeting moment that might crumble in the harsh light of reality? Just as he lifted the checkers from the box, he caught his father's eye. There was a glimmer of something, maybe a tiny spark of hope. But hope was precarious, as were the shadows of their past. And the silence that hung was still filled with questions and unspoken fears. Would they be able to make it through the game without spiraling into the weight of history? Could this moment be the first step, or simply a reminder of all that had been lost? As they sat together, the board between them, the air shifted. Jack knew there was more to this game than just pieces and rules. This was about a chance to connect, if only they could keep the fear at bay long enough to find out. The checkers felt warm in Jack's hand as he laid them out on the board, each piece a potential new memory waiting to take shape. He glanced at his father, whose eyes were darting back and forth, as if deciding whether to step into light or retreat into shadow. Jack held his breath. Okay, so I'm red, you're black, he said, trying to keep his voice light. He moved the first checker forward, careful to keep his movement steady. Your turn, Dad. The old man picked up a piece, but his hand trembled slightly. He looked over at Lily and Grace, their innocent eyes full of expectation, as if they were kindling a fire that he felt unprepared to ignite. Taking a deep breath, he slid his checker forward, the movement almost tentative, as if the board were a fragile bridge connecting them to happiness or disappointment. "Nice move," Grace announced, clapping her little hands. Her enthusiasm was contagious, and a chuckle escaped Jack's lips, relief washing over him like a warm breeze. "Thanks, Grace," his father replied, his voice barely above a whisper. The wrinkles around his eyes deepened, and for a moment, he looked like a different man, one who had not been weighed down by regret but liberated by possibility. Lily was leaning forward now, her eyes flickering between the board and her grandfather's face, observing each tiny shift in his demeanor. "What if we play loser has to sing a funny song?" she suggested, a mischievous grin breaking out on her face. At first, Jack's father stiffened, as if the suggestion were a challenge too daunting to face. But then, a glint of laughter broke through, and he chuckled. "I can't sing, you know that." "Exactly. It would be hilarious." Lily persisted, and Grace chimed in, her eyes wide with excitement. Jack felt another spark igniting, not just in the room, but deep within their hearts. What if laughter truly was the key? "Well, you might find you have a great voice, Dad. Or at least a funny one." He watched his father's expression soften, and suddenly the old wounds didn't feel heavy anymore. Instead, they felt like badges of survival that could transform into stories. His father leaned back, a cautious smile playing at the corners of his mouth, as if he was realizing just how much had been lost and how much they could still gain. With each move, the tension began to melt away. Jack could see the small triumphs sparkling like stars in the night sky, his father focusing more, a hint of laughter bubbling beneath the surface. The game was becoming more than just checkers, it was a chance to reclaim laughter, to rewrite endings, but just then, the moment wavered as Jack's father hesitated. He looked down at the pieces, his expression faltering. "But what if it all falls apart after this?" he blurted out. "What if I can't keep being this?" The question hung heavy in the air. Jack's heart raced again, panic threatening to surge forward, but also a fierce determination. "It might fall apart, Dad." "It might," he said, no longer afraid to admit the truth. "But what if it doesn't? What if every game, every laugh builds something beautiful?" His father stared, a flicker of understanding breaking through the facade of doubt. "You really think we can do this?" "I know we can." Jack's voice rose with conviction. "It's about trying, remember? One moment at a time." A small, almost imperceptible nod came as their eyes met. There was a connection there, a binding thread weaving them closer together. Suddenly, laughter rang out as Grace decided to make her move, an exaggerated flourish that felt oddly empowering, like breaking barriers with an unexpected dance. And in that instant, Jack realized there was so much more to gain than just the thrill of each move. It was about becoming encompassing again, reclaiming the joy lost in the silence of years. For the first time in a long while, they were creating a new world together, and that world felt right, but just as the game neared its first climax, a soft knock echoed through the door, puncturing their bubble. A familiar voice called from the other side, unexpected, unwelcome, yet undeniably relevant. "Jack. Can we talk? It's important." Jack's heart sank. He glanced at his father, the tension pricking the air again. This was a moment that could slip away. Would they hold on to the joy they had begun to forge, or would the past tap back in with its heavy hand? With the door slightly ajar, hope battling apprehension, Jack knew the next step was crucial. Would he invite the past back in, or would they choose to keep what was blossoming alive? Jack's mind raced as he faced the door. The laughter in the room felt light and almost fragile, dancing on the edge of something potent. The knock had shattered the moment where they seemed to be crafting a brighter future, but it also held a weight of its own, a call to confront unanswered questions. His father's gaze was uncertain yet expectant, as if he too sensed the gravity of this interruption. Jack glanced back at the board. The checkers lay like unfinished dreams, reminders of the effort they had begun to undertake together. "Wait here, okay?" Jack urged, taking one last look at their game before standing. He stepped away, feelings battling within him. Half of him yearned to open that door, to find out what the voice wanted to say, while the other half wanted to slam it shut and hold on to the joy that had started to gather like blossoms after a storm. As he reached for the doorknob, he hesitated. What could possibly be more important than this moment? He could almost feel the warmth fading, those moments of laughter slipping through his fingers like sands in an hourglass. "Jack." The voice cut through the air again, a little more pleading this time. He opened the door, and his heart sank a little deeper. It was Mia, his childhood friend turned estranged ally, standing on the threshold with her brown hair slightly windswept, an expression of urgency clear in her sapphire eyes. "I need to talk. It's about your dad." Every muscle in Jack's body tensed. The mention of his father shot straight through him like a cold wind. "What about him?" Jack's voice was steady, but inside, uncertainty churned. "They're worried," she said, stepping slightly into the light, 1 foot in, 1 foot out, just like the way Jack's father hovered between two worlds. "Worried? Who? What do you mean?" he demanded, wanting to protect the moment they were beginning to share from whatever storm was brewing outside. "His health, it's worse than I thought." "I thought you should know," she replied quietly, her eyes breaking away from his, as if she carried the weight of too much truth. Jack's chest tightened. He cast a quick glance back into the living room, where his father shared a quiet chuckle with Lily, unaware of the words hanging in the air. The news felt like ice water splashed on a warm summer day, shocking and disheartening. "Why now, Mia?" He struggled to keep his voice calm, fighting against the rush of hurt that threatened to bubble over. "Why couldn't you just let us have this?" "Because it's about more than just today," she argued, a desperate edge creeping into her tone. "You need to understand that every day counts. You have to make it count." Her words hung in the space between them, palpable and saturated with urgency. Jack clenched his fists at his sides, a myriad of emotions swirling. It was an invitation to face what they had been avoiding for so long, the raw truth of their history and his father's fragility. "Does Dad know?" Jack asked, barely above a whisper. He felt the ground shift beneath him with that question. "No," Mia's voice softened, a mix of sympathy and pity in her eyes. "But he needs to know you're here, that he's not facing this alone. This moment, it might change everything." The notion weighed on him, heavy and suffocating. Jack had only just begun to see his father as more than a ghost of the man he once knew. Could facing this reality break the fragile bond they were starting to rebuild? He turned back toward his father's laughter, the warmth of the moment still lingering, though overshadowed by anxiety now. "Jack." Mia's voice pulled him back. "You have to choose." He drew in a shaky breath, the gravity of it all pressing against his chest. Whatever choices lay ahead could alter everything, for them both. Moments later, Jack felt a shudder of uncertainty. Would he risk everything for a chance to confront those fears? The laughter behind him echoed like a siren call, urging him back into the light. But the truth also beckoned, like a shadow that whispered urgent secrets. In that uncertain moment, Jack felt he was standing on the brink of something monumental. Would he run toward the past that haunted him, or would he leap into the chaos that could set them all free? "Dad," he began, stepping back into the warmth of the room, knowing this next moment was everything. But his heart was still racing. Everything around him could tip, and he had to know, could laughter survive the storm of reality that was just starting to break? Jack hesitated in the doorway, the warm light spilling out from the living room dimming against the encroaching weight of Mia's revelation. He felt his heart thudding in his chest like a drum, the familiar rhythm punctuated by the unfamiliar tightness in his throat. "Jack." Mia whispered, a pained look crossing her features. "You need to make a decision." Biting his lip, he turned back again, searching for reassurance in his father's laughter. It felt like a distant melody, something beautiful yet fragile. Such moments had become rare treasures in their fractured relationship. He'd just reclaimed a piece of his father, and now reality threatened to tear it from him. Think about it, Mia pressed, her voice almost trembling. Do you really want to wait? What if you never get this chance again? Her words echoed through him, somehow both a warning and a challenge. Jack felt himself drawn between two worlds, the safety of laughter and lightness and the stark reality of what was brewing beneath the surface. Mia, I don't know if I can. The words stumbled out of his mouth, each word feeling heavier than the last. What if confronting his old fears shattered the moment they had crafted? What if it didn't? The thoughts whipped around in circles, an endless spiral of confusion. It's scary, Jack, she said softly, stepping closer. But facing it could bring you both closer than you've ever been. Trust me. Looking deep into her eyes, Jack saw the sincerity, the hope, the desperation. It made his heart ache. When had he last trusted? When had he last believed in the potential of his relationship with his father? Taking a deep breath, he finally stepped away from the doorway, shutting it gently behind him. With reluctance, he approached the living room. Each step seemed heavy, as if weighted by the gravity of the decision he was about to make. Dad? The one word rolled off his tongue, and instantly, the laughter quieted, like a gasp swallowing up sound in an instant. His father turned, a smile still playing on his lips, yet it faltered when he noticed the unusual seriousness etched on Jack's face. Everything okay, son? Jack could see the warmth in his father's eyes, the gentle wisdom forged through years of experience. But now, there was also an unspoken fear lurking, tethered by the shadows of secrets neither of them had wanted to confront. Can we talk? Jack asked, his voice steady, yet slightly trembling. His father's expression shifted from curiosity to concern. Sure, what's on your mind? Jack took a beat, looking over at Mia, her anxiety mirrored in his own. This was it. The moment where laughter faded and truth took its place. It's about your health, Dad. The room felt charged, the air thick with anticipation. Jack could see the shift in his father's demeanor, a flicker of something like fear, and Jack wanted to reach out and ease that tension. What do you mean? His father asked, confusion etching deeper lines into his brow. I heard that things might be worse than you're letting on, Jack rushed to say, his heart racing with every word. Mia told me, and I think we need to face it. Together. There was a pause, a moment stretching into eternity as Jack observed the conflicting emotions wash over his father's face. Jack, his father hesitated, and Jack felt a sinking sensation. He waited, knowing this was the moment that would determine whether they crumbled or began to rebuild. Please, Dad, Jack urged, fighting against the storm of doubt building within him. Let me in. You're not alone in this. Time hung suspended, and in that moment, Jack became acutely aware that their laughter, that same lightness he had cherished, could either vanish or evolve into something greater. He just had to find the strength to embrace the storm. Okay, his father finally said, his voice low yet filled with an unsteady resolve. Let us talk. With those words, Jack felt a flicker of hope igniting within him. But doubt still settled uncomfortably in his stomach. Would this bring them together or unravel everything they had begun to heal? As they sat down, he knew he was about to unearth buried fears. Their journey toward healing could be just beginning, or it might very well open old wounds they weren't ready to face. Jack. His father started, his voice trembling slightly. What do you want to know? In that silence, Jack realized he was on the precipice of transformation. All he could do was take the leap. What truths would surface, and at what cost? Inside the sterile hospital room, the world outside seemed distant, like a far-off dream. Jack felt the weight of his father's eyes on him, searching for answers, searching for a bridge back to what had been lost. He could sense the tumultuous blend of fear and hope swirling in the air like a summer storm, charged with electricity waiting to be released. Dad, Jack began, steadying his voice as best he could, I know we haven't really talked about what happened in the past, but he hesitated, searching for words that felt meaningful and necessary. I think it's time we did. His father's brow furrowed, uncertainty cloaking his features. What do you mean? His voice cracked slightly, a thread of vulnerability tearing through the hard outer shell he had worn for so long. I mean, I've spent years feeling like I was just drifting lost between what you had done and who I wanted to be. And I've realized that keeping my distance hadn't just hurt you. It hurt me and Lily and Grace too. It kept us from forming any kind of connection. Jack glanced back at Lily and Grace, their small forms holding onto each other like lifeboats amid a storm. Their steadfast confidence anchored him, fueling his conviction. I want to know you, Jack continued softly, as tears welled up, blurring the edges of his reality. Not just the fear or the anger, but the man beneath that. The father I couldn't see before. A long silence hung in the air, thick with unspoken regrets and longing. Jack's father shifted uneasily, his heart visibly battling between fear and the faintest inklings of hope. Finally, he spoke, the words barely escaping his lips. I never wanted to hurt you, Jack. I just didn't know how to fix the mistakes I made. I thought you'd be better off without me. Jack's heart lurched, absorbing the confession like a sponge. But what if I needed you? What if we all did? The old man lowered his gaze, unraveling the layers of shame that bound him. Deep lines etched on his face told stories of battles fought alone and hard lessons learned. I just didn't want you girls to see how broken I am, he confessed, his voice a mere whisper. Jack stepped forward, reaching out tentatively. We get to decide what broken means, Dad. You taught me that when you taught me I could be better than I was. We don't have to do this alone anymore. Not when we've come this far. Lily's voice broke through the tension, her eyes shimmering like bright stars in a dark sky. Grandpa, she said, managing a smile that brightened the room, we can be broken together. That way, we can help each other heal. Grace nodded fervently. Yeah. You taught us to be brave and to love. We believe you can change. Jack felt the walls of his father's fortress starting to crack, the flicker of hope igniting into a flame. Those years, they carry weight, for sure. But maybe they're just stepping stones, Dad. A chance for something new, and if we decide together, we can build a bridge instead of a wall. His father looked at each of them, their earnest faces lifting him out of the shadows. The old man's eyes glistened, the dam of emotion struggling to hold back the flood of tears. I've been so lost for so long I didn't want to drag you all down too. Jack placed a hand on his father's shoulder, feeling the warmth seep into his skin. But you won. We're here now, ready to walk with you. The room seemed to light up in that moment. It was as if the heavy chains of the past began to break, and the embrace of forgiveness slowly seeped in, filling the gaps left behind. A chuckle surfaced from Jack's father as he recalled a fleeting memory. You remember that time I tried to teach you to ride a bike, yet I ended up falling flat on my face. Laughter erupted, mixing together like fresh air after a long confinement. Jack's heart soared, as the connection between them began to solidify under the weight of their shared history. Yes. You said it was all about balance. Jack smiled, the love palpable in the room. They held those moments tightly, and just then, doors began to open not only between them but outward into a new world where they could build on joy instead of sorrow. Think we can try to brand new memories? Jack's father asked, a hint of a hopeful smile forming on his face, the hint of a bravado slowly returning. Absolutely, Jack said, taking a deep breath. Together. Outside the hospital, the sun broke through, bathing the day in warmth, illuminating the potential that lay ahead. Days turned into weeks, and Jack's father began to improve, the light of connection thriving between them. Though the scars of the past remained, it became clear, the four of them, bound by love, resilience, and hope, would rise together. As they played games, shared stories, and faced their fears together, Jack realized this was not the end, but rather a new beginning, a journey reborn not just from ashes, but from the laughter and love that filled their hearts. And just like that, they learned that true healing comes not only from facing the past, but embracing the promise of a brighter tomorrow. Together, now, this story of resilience and love has concluded, but your journey does not have to end here. You need to subscribe now. Hit that button and stay tuned for more exclusive tales of transformation. Leave a like now. Your support feeds the algorithm and inspires more stories just like this. Comment below about your feelings and reactions to this powerful ending. Your voice matters, and don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Let us spread the love.